"Fix my Lamborghini," Madeline Pierce said, her voice cutting through the evening air loud enough for the cameras and investors to hear. "And I'll marry you." The crowd of wealthy tech executives laughed instantly. No one stepped in to stop her. No one said a word. Marcus Reed, a single black dad in oil-stained work boots, didn't argue or lower his eyes. He simply walked past the Snickers, opened the passenger door of the matte black vehicle, and reached into the glove compartment. Then, he froze. Tucked between the leather owner's manual and a stack of insurance papers was a battered photograph of a skinny, runaway teenage boy standing beside a rusted bicycle. Marcus stared at the picture for one long second, closed the door, and reached for his phone. The call had come at 6:14 on a Thursday evening, right as Marcus Reed was trying to convince his 12-year-old daughter Naomi that canned tomato soup counted as a real dinner. They sat in their tiny apartment above his independent auto repair shop, the warm hum of city traffic floating through the open window. When his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number, a desperate assistant on the line begged for help. A high-profile tech CEO's luxury vehicle had died right before a massive live-streamed investor gala north of the city, and 3 corporate dealerships had already refused to send a mobile team. Marcus wasn't looking for rich clients. Since his wife, Angela, passed away 4 years earlier, his world revolved around 2 things: keeping his modest shop honest and raising Naomi with dignity. But Angela had always taught him never to turn away someone in genuine need. So, Marcus threw on his heavy canvas jacket, kissed Naomi's forehead, and pulled his 20-year-old blue pickup truck onto the highway. 20 minutes later, his rattling truck pulled into the gated driveway of a towering Dallas estate. The property glittered with golden string lights, towering marble fountains, and dozens of media cameras. Valets in formal black vests moved between rows of luxury sedans, while wealthy guests held crystal glasses on the lawn. When Marcus stepped out of his rusted truck, wearing his worn work boots and dark slacks, the valet looked at him with immediate disdain. At the center of the circular driveway stood Madeline Pierce, the 40-year-old CEO of Pierce Technologies. She wore an emerald designer gown, her eyes sharp, cold, and calculated. Beside her sat a dead 700-horsepower matte black Lamborghini. The moment she saw Marcus walking toward her with a heavy metal toolbox, she smirked at the surrounding reporters and decided to turn his arrival into a spectacle. "Fix my Lamborghini," Madeline announced loudly, raising her glass as the crowd gathered around. "And I'll marry you." Laughter erupted across the driveway. Photographers flashed their lenses, capturing the image of the wealthy CEO mocking a working-class black mechanic. A few tech investors chuckled, shaking their heads as if Marcus were nothing more than a prop for their evening's entertainment. Marcus didn't flinch. He had raised a daughter alone, survived grief, and built an honest life with his own 2 hands. The cheap jokes of arrogant strangers held no power over him. Without saying a word, he set his toolbox down on the gravel and knelt beside the front bumper. He checked the battery terminal, tested the alternator voltage, and recognized the issue within 90 seconds. It wasn't a mechanical failure at all. It was an intentional ignition kill switch bypass triggered from inside the cabin. Marcus stood up and reached through the open passenger window to access the glove compartment, where the secondary master reset button was usually hidden. But as his fingers cleared the clutter inside, his hand brushed against an old, faded photograph. It was a picture taken 20 years ago in a low-income neighborhood across town. In it, a 15-year-old runaway boy stood beside a rusted bicycle, holding a warm meal given to him by a local community center cook named Angela Reed, Marcus's late wife. Beside the boy stood his older brother, a fierce young man who had sworn to protect him. Marcus knew that face instantly. That boy wasn't Madeline Pierce. That boy was David Vance, the brilliant, low-profile founder who had actually engineered the core algorithm behind Pierce Technologies, before suddenly vanishing from the company's public records 6 years ago. Marcus quietly closed the glove compartment, his mind piecing together the timeline. Years ago, before Angela passed, she had mentored young David, helping him secure his first college scholarship, while his ruthless stepsister Madeline tried to push him out of the family narrative. Marcus remembered the long nights Angela had spent ensuring David had a safe place to sleep and study. Now, standing in the middle of $1 million gala built on stolen genius, Marcus realized why the ignition was locked. David hadn't vanished. He was still the silent equity holder, and his remote security protocol had automatically locked the vehicle's main computer module due to an unpaid internal corporate audit. Madeline didn't just have a dead car. Her entire company was facing an emergency lockout from its true creator. Madeline stepped closer, crossing her arms with a sneer. "What's the matter? Is the engine too complicated for you to understand?" Marcus looked her dead in the eye, his voice calm and steady. "The engine is fine. The problem is your clearance level." The crowd went quiet. Madeline's smile faded, replaced by sudden irritation. "What are you talking about? I own this car. I own the company." "You own the shell, but the man who owns the software logic is sitting in an office downtown waiting for a call from someone who remembers where he came from." Marcus dialed a private number he had kept written in Angela's old leather address book. He placed the phone to his ear as the surrounding investors exchanged confused glances. "David," Marcus said into the receiver, his deep voice carrying clearly over the silent driveway. "It's Marcus Reed, Angela's husband." On the other end of the line, the silence lasted for only 2 seconds before a trembling voice answered. "Mr. Reed? Is that really you? Where are you?" "I'm standing in a driveway north of Dallas, looking at a dead car and a room full of people who think money buys character." Over the speakerphone, David Vance's voice grew fierce and clear. "Are you at Madeline's estate? Did she disrespect you?" "She made a joke, but I think you have some business to finish with her first." Madeline's face drained of color. She lunged forward, trying to grab the phone. "Who are you talking to? Give me that." Before she could touch it, 3 heavy black SUVs pulled through the estate's front gates, sirened escorts clearing the path. The vehicles came to a sudden stop right behind Marcus's blue pickup truck. The doors opened, and out stepped David Vance himself, surrounded by corporate legal counsel and 2 state financial auditors. The investors gasped. The media cameras turned away from Madeline, flooding David with bright white light. David walked straight past his stepsister, stopping 2 feet from Marcus. He looked at the oil-stained hands of the man whose family had fed him when he had nothing, and he bowed his head in profound respect. "Mr. Reed," David said loudly, addressing the entire crowd of reporters. "6 years ago, this company was built on technology I created. When my stepsister took over the board, she attempted to erase my name, my shares, and the community foundation my late mentor Angela Reed helped establish." David turned to the lead financial auditor beside him. "We are executing the emergency freeze on all Pierce Technologies assets effective immediately due to corporate fraud." Madeline stumbled backward, her hands shaking as her legal team frantically pulled out their phones. The very investors who had been laughing at Marcus minutes earlier immediately pulled back, distancing themselves from the disgraced CEO. David turned to Marcus, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Your wife saved my life when I was 15 years old, Mr. Reed. She taught me that true power is using what you have to lift others up." David reached into his jacket, pulled out a signed document, and handed it to Marcus. "This is the deed to the commercial garage property downtown you've been renting for 10 years. It's fully paid for, in your name." Marcus looked at the document, feeling his late wife's presence in the cool night breeze. He didn't gloat. He didn't mock the woman who had insulted him. He simply folded the paper carefully, placed it inside his jacket pocket, and picked up his toolbox. "Thank you, David," Marcus said softly. "Naomi is waiting for me at home. We have soup to finish." With unyielding dignity, Marcus walked past the silent crowd of billionaires, stepped into his old blue pickup truck, and drove back home to his daughter. True strength does not depend on luxury labels or public applause. It lives in the quiet integrity of those who build their lives on truth, resilience, and honor.